There we go. Now we're live. Good to
All
see you, man.
Good to see you too, man.
Back at it. It's like show 71
Really interesting. Okay.
since
Cool.
we've been doing it here.
Okay. Oh, that's
Crazy.
year and a half.
Goes like this.
I know. It goes fast, man. It does.
Thank y'all for peeking in.
Yeah.
I told him before we even put the camera on that I was going to throw him a curveball.
Yeah. I like curveballs.
I'm going to ask Rocco a question that he might find difficult to answer with any certainty. My prediction, because the example I'm giving him, the question I'm giving him, doesn't really apply to him.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
I'm really curious now.
Okay. Is our society bored?
Oh, well, in what way? Like bored, just
Look at us.
not bored, uninspired. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I don't, because I think bored is there's lack of things to do or lack of stimuli. I think we have plenty of that. I think people are uninspired. I think people operate from an uninspired angle because they haven't taken the time to really understand what actually inspires them.
Why?
Well, that's a good question. So I would say a couple reasons. One, I think it's because people fear that they're not inspired by anything. So when you start looking and can't find, it's like, well, what's my purpose if I'm not inspired by anything?
And we don't want to address that question.
We don't want to address that question. Correct. Two, I think people don't know how to ask the questions. It's one of those times where you really have to self-reflect, right? To figure out what inspires you. That takes a lot of self-reflection when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because how did you figure out what inspired you? And it changes over time, right? It shifts. Mm-hmm. What inspired me 20 years ago is different than what inspires me today.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspires me today will probably be different than what inspires me 5 years from now.
Is that a result of personal growth or situational circumstances?
It could be either or, I think.
Societal situation.
Yeah, it could be either or. I think in my instance, I could tell you for certain it's from personal growth because I've just done the work and have constantly looked at how do I evolve as an individual and how do I grow as a person.
I told you this is that you don't have the problem.
No, but well, here's the thing. Do I have moments where I feel uninspired? Absolutely. Do I have moments where I feel bored?
Define that for me. When you say uninspired, what do you mean?
Meaning I feel like I'm stuck.
Okay.
And I've had those moments recently where you feel like you're beating your head against the wall.
That's different than being bored, though.
I don't know. Well, then define bored for me. Maybe we have to set the framework.
Do you feel that society spends a good portion of our time in an aimless state?
Aimless state. And I'm going to keep lawyering this because I want to make sure we're answering the right. What do you mean by aimless? Because I think aimless. I think the movie people walking like zombies.
Goalless.
Okay.
Without purpose.
Okay.
Or a clearly defined purpose. So a certain purpose. I'll put it that way.
So I think people aimless, I think, is a harsh word. I think that means the individual, the human doesn't have a purpose. I believe everybody has a purpose, right? Whether they define it or not, we all have a purpose for being here. I think when it comes to goal setting, I think people have different goals, right? Somebody's goal may be just to get through the day, just to get through the week because they're coming out of something, right? Or just to raise their kids and to make sure their kids have a good life like they didn't growing up. Other people, like my goals are exponentially larger every year. Like I keep increasing them. That's just me. But I think I don't know that aimlessly is the right word. I think it all. I will keep coming back to it. I think there is a lot of people that are truly just uninspired. That's the biggest problem I see. There's just a lack of inspiration because you can see when a person's inspired by something. They move differently. They speak differently. They operate differently. They interact differently. Someone that's uninspired is just going through the motions. Think about any job you've had when you've been truly inspired in a job or not inspired, you're a different person, completely different. I see it all the time. It's something that I think there are a lot of uninspired people walking around.
Is that symptomatic of the time we're living in, or you think that's just part of the human condition?
I think it's part of the human condition. I think partially due to the time, because we're so stimulated, excuse me. So it's hard to understand what inspires you because there's so much coming at you. You don't have that time to reflect. Like I was thinking that today. I'm in the office. I'm like, man, like I just had a moment sitting in my office where I'm like, I need a break. Like, and I know when I get like that, where I've been running hard and trying to figure out everything and trying to, okay, what worked in the past isn't going to work going forward, but how do I change it, but not change it too much, find the balance. I'm just like, shit, I need a break, and it's one of those things where it's the human condition. I'm so overstimulated by so many things coming at me every day and people and questions that I just get to that point where it's like, it's hard for me to find that space because there's so much coming at me. So I mean, it's a symptom of society too.
Do you think we have an element of desensitivity to violence and things over time? Do you think any of that comes out of, or any segment of that comes out of boredom, societal boredom?
I don't know that it's boredom. So people being desensitized to violence, I think that comes from just the nature of pop culture, right? We've incorporated violence more and more into pop culture, video games, movies. Think about movies today compared to 20 years ago. The fight scenes, I mean, they look real now. Back then, it was like, these are stupid fight scenes. These are stupid gun scenes. You'd shoot somebody, 3 seconds later, they'd jump on the ground and you'd see like blood shoot. It was stupid. But now it's becomes so realistic. It's hard for people to decipher between that and reality.
Why though? We've talked about this before in terms I've heard you say that multiple times, but let me ask you, why should that matter? Like you're saying that our entertainment that we're seeing is so visually good with technology and stunning that somehow it looks like real life, and then somehow that compels us to emulate it.
No, I think it desensitizes us to it, right? Because we see it more frequently, and it looks more realistic.
More sensitized to it, but it looks so real,
But no, I think about it. If you're constantly being stimulated by something, you lose the sensation of it over time. You're desensitized to it. So you're seeing violence. It looks so realistic, so much now. You're like, it doesn't. You see it for real. So you watch a bunch of movies, violent movies, horribly violent movies, horror movies, whatever, all the time. Suddenly you walk out in the street and see something that happens. You're used to, your brain is equating it. I've seen this all the time. Now, someone that watches comedies like me and just mindless shows when I watch TV, for me to see something, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Like, I would be completely sensitive to that.
Right.
Because I don't see it all the time.
Right.
That's what I mean by that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I stand on the belief that we do not need to be a product of our society, but the easy route is to become a product of our society because it takes less effort.
Explain that a little bit more.
So there was moments in my life along the journey where I had a decision, and I was conscious of where I was at that moment, and that I needed to make a decision on this. And often, low expectations was to follow a path of lower expectations, which society was giving me, and was pretty inviting to see.
Okay,
was a huge temptation, and sometimes I yielded to it.
Okay.
Other times I wanted something different, or I wanted more of myself, or I had a moment of inspiration, or whatever my worldview was at that moment, helped me to pull away from that that sugar-coated easy temptation
Mm-hmm.
and embrace some discipline and go a different way.
Okay.
I think there's too much giving into the easy way in society overall.
Okay.
I'm making a judgment
Sure.
about humans, but
Okay.
I think that we, more than ever in history, in my personal belief, in the 59 years I've been here,
Mm-hmm.
we will take as a society the easy way
Okay.
more frequently now than we ever have. I'm talking intellectually easy, I'm talking physically easy,
Mm-hmm.
mechanically easy, whatever you want to quantify the activity.
Why?
And I feel it's because that we've got systems in place in society which have enabled us to have a easier path.
Okay. Not disagreeing with
Now,
that.
now the easy path does not, there's no qualifiers in there of achievement, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But as we bounced on the show before, we make a joke in saying this, but it's too easy to survive.
Yeah.
There's some credence to that because in prior decades, and it's certainly in prior generations, you couldn't just survive.
Right.
You would find yourself out on the street in the gutter and probably in like 2 months be dead.
Yeah.
Would you not agree? There's safety mechanisms within society. And I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Yeah.
That pathway to death is probably elongated now.
Yes.
Drugs will precipitate it.
Correct.
But I mean, just sloth, just being lazy.
I'll take it a step back.
Okay.
I think where it stems from is people's lack of standards for themselves.
Bingo.
I think that's
it.
That's the essence of the problem.
And again, my next question to you is, I'm the client sitting in the lawyer's office. Why is that? Why are our standards lower now?
Because they're not necessitated. Because of the ease. So it's a circular argument.
Okay.
When you think about it, right?
Okay.
Society's gotten easy. So or there's mechanisms in place that make things easier for us, right? So we don't have to have the standards we used to. So then we don't have these standards, that now we embrace the easy more often. And it's a circular argument. Like I think, like I choose hard. If I'm faced with two paths, I will choose hard. Not simply because, but I know what I'll gain from choosing the hard path. So if someone gives me this path, which is very easy, and this path, which is very hard, gets me to the same spot, I will take 9 out of 10 times the hard path because of who I become on the journey.
This is the basis of Ryan Holiday's book, right? The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, that is
which is rooted in Aurelius.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's true. We if you really change your framework and you stop seeking comfort and start seeking discomfort, life gets easier.
It's a hard concept
we
to sell
think
someone.
We live an easy life until we push through the hard. Like now I feel in better shape than I've been in a long time, right? Because I've been working harder at this year. It was very hard, and it's hard every day to get up at 4 and go to the gym, but it makes the rest of my day easy.
Certainly.
I have more energy, I'm more mentally focused, I get more done, I'm more productive. So I'm choosing hard to make things easy.
Right.
Now I could choose the easy road and just say, I'm not going to get up at 4. I'm not going to get up in the morning and work out. I'm just going to go to the office. I'm going to drag my feet all day. And I'm going to procrastinate. And I'm going to let it all pile up to the end of the week when I lose my mind. I'm choosing easy along the way and to get to a very difficult spot.
The result is hard.
The result is hard. If you choose hard, the result is easy. And that's where people have got it flipped. Because we've created all these mechanisms in society and safety nets and, backstops to make the journey easy. But it's getting you to a hard result. Like take a pill. Okay, you can take a pill. But what happens when the pills run out? Just do the work. Walk 10,000 steps a day. Eat less food. Drink water. Those are hard things to do, But if you do them on a consistent basis, it makes life easy.
Correct.
Like, and it's funny, we had this discussion this weekend. So we went to that trivia night for the Rotary, and Gabe and Marcus were there, right? And Marcus, who's, you know, went to college with Gabe, he works with us now, and he was asking, you know, what he was, because, you know, I'm older, I'm 47, and he was asking, he's like, you know, and he was asking about his generation. He said, he's like, why do you think your generation has aged so well? I said, because we take care of ourselves. We've done the hard stuff, right? I know people, like, there are people in our generation that look 15 years older than they do, or 15 years younger than they do. Because, like, I was like, I don't think we necessarily look our age, or, you know, physically.
Well, I know I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, I don't think I look almost 50.
No.
You know, and I feel like I'm in my 20s, and it's because I've chosen hard along the way.
Yeah.
And I think
everything comes at a price.
It does. Like, you pay the price now, you pay the price later. I could have chosen easy my whole life and then be 300 pounds right now and be mentally unfocused and not be able to run a farm and not be able to take care of all these people, not be able to do all the things I do. But because I've chose hard from the time I started working out till now, it makes life easy. I think it's all about choices people make. Every choice has a consequence. If you're not where you want to be, or if you don't look the way you want, it's because of the choices you have made along the way. No one else is as at fault for that. If you don't have the money you want, the relationship you want, the body you want, the mentality you want, it's all because of the choices you have made.
Well, in most circumstances, I've always believed this, and there's always outliers, but in most circumstances, you are where you are because you want to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always outliers.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say that a child born in Africa on the desert plains that dies 20 minutes after we're born.
Right.
That's a different, that's an outlier.
Yes.
So generally speaking, in a first world society, given reasonable opportunities as a child, you end up where you are because it's exactly where you want to be.
Right. You're choosing other, like, I was listening to a podcast on the way here, and they were taught, it's funny, they were talking about this topic, and he was saying, you know, if you are broke but watch Netflix 2 hours a night, you're broke because of you. If you are unfit but you watch Netflix 2 hours a night, you are unfit because of you and the choices you have made. And it's truly that. So the whole point of that podcast was audit your life. Like, look at I try and do that every 3 to 6 months myself. What am I doing? What am I doing too much of, too little of? Like, where am I wasting my time? You know, like, how do I do more? Like, I was realizing, okay, like, some mornings I'll be on the treadmill and I'll be looking at social media. I said, what am I doing? That's a waste of time. So I make sure I'm reading now. I always read, but I was at a point in time, like last quarter, I'd maybe spend an extra 10 minutes after I play my brain games, like scrolling on social media. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? That's not who I am. And but I had to audit my life. And said, okay, what do I do every minute of the day? And
even deeper than that, you have to be willing to do what I think most folks won't, and that is to continually hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, we have trouble holding other people accountable.
Yes.
So really, we will verbalize our disappointment, especially behind their back, about how disappointed we are. But we have trouble holding other people really accountable. It's an uncomfortable conversation sometimes. Well, the person we need to hold accountable the most, we're living in, you know?
And that's my biggest struggle, because I hold myself accountable more than anybody, and I have a hard time holding others accountable. And again, I mean, and I go back to that Marcus Aurelius quote, you know, tolerant with others and strict with oneself. And that's what I am. Sometimes I'm too tolerant, and I've realized that has been the error of my ways up to this point. I'm trying to make I'm trying to make adjustments this year to, like, hold people to account for their own benefit.
Certainly.
Not to be an asshole or not to be, but it's like, hey, we have a standard in the firm. You're all here because you are well above that standard. Now let's operate like it. So it's the accountability piece is the hard part, but it's, if people just started being accountable for themselves, the more accountability you take, the more freedom you have in life. Like the Jocko Willink book, with discipline comes freedom.
No question.
But people don't understand, like, be accountable for the decisions you make, the things you have and don't have, and then life gets easy, and you have this level of freedom because you know you're in control.
let's talk about that for a second. So we touch on this many times in our discussions about entrepreneurship, and we talked last week a bit about freedom and the illusion of freedom and so forth. When we were done speaking last week and I was thinking about it, what I wanted to mention to you was that, isn't it interesting how when you talk to somebody that might not be an entrepreneur, just working for a firm, 9-to-5 structure, their definition of the freedom that you have always has to do with time.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good.
Where the reality is, at least from what my experience has been, I get that. Certainly time is a part of the freedom.
Sure.
The management of my time doesn't necessarily mean quantity, right?
Yes.
But the bigger thing for me is the emotional freedom I had over myself. And that's the thing that I should have been able to mention last week. That's the part that it does not translate through conversation. Like you mentioned last week, you've got to live it, because once you get a taste of it, there's nothing like it. That's the true freedom.
No, you're right. But there's also the balance of it, right? Because with that freedom comes a lot of responsibility, right?
Certainly.
So you have this emotional.
Well, you won't have it long if you don't use it responsibly.
Well, right, and that's the thing. And I'm the type of person where I take on, I tend to feel others' emotions, so I take on those emotions too. So it's, I have this ability to be free emotionally and from a time bound measure, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and that's why, like, we all have the same 24 hours. It's just I get to choose how I use mine. I'm not beholden to a certain way of doing it. I do what's best for my clients, my employees, myself, my family. That's how I look at it. But it starts with the responsibility to yourself and accountability to yourself. If you master those two things, you master accountability and being responsible, the rest of the stuff in life tends to work itself out.
Fall into place.
Yeah, but if you can't master those two things, it's very hard to master anything else.
And that's not exclusive to entrepreneurship. That is just life 101.
No, what's the quote? If you're entrusted with small things you can't handle, you'll never be entrusted with large things you can handle.
Correct.
And you got to be able to handle the small things. And that starts with you. Like, be accountable to you. Don't stop making excuses. Like a good friend of mine back in the day, I used to always get so mad at him. I'd be like, dude, either change it or accept it. Complaining about it does nothing. And to me, it's, you have those are your two choices in life. If you're in a situation you don't like, you can either change it or accept it. Complaining does nothing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think about that a lot now, because I'm around more people than I have been in a long time on a daily basis. I'm part of a quote unquote small team now.
Corporate guy now.
And just watching, well,
I'm kidding.
I don't think I could ever be that, but it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
But just listening, because that's the thing I have been able to develop over the years, is refine this listening thing, and just listening. And it's just the same stuff that was prevalent in the 90s I experienced. It's just different. My viewpoint's different now.
Yeah.
But a lot of people spend time wishing the circumstance they find themselves in was different, and they'll verbalize it all the time. But it's just either too painful or they're too lazy, emotionally or physically, to change it.
Or they just don't know, and they're not seeking information. Like that.
Do you think that's what it is?
I do think that's a big part of it. I think people just they get caught up and they don't know where to go, so they have this analysis paralysis. To me, to change anything, you have to be action oriented.
You gotta want it, man.
You have to want it. You have to say it, want it, and then move on it.
Yeah.
And most people will.
Yeah.
Like, I got into this debate with someone recently, and we were talking about whether what someone says or what they do matters more. And they were of the opinion that the actions matter, the words don't. I said I differ a little bit, because to me, they have to think it and say it before they'll do it.
1,000,000%.
If they're not even talking about it or thinking about it, they're just moving in a direction, may or may not stick. But if they're thinking about it and then start articulating it and verbalizing it and then start moving, to me, that is a deeper rooted
without a
change
question.
coming.
Without question.
But I also
it's
understand
on
this person's
purpose.
point.
It's on purpose.
But I also understand the person's point was like, okay, well, I don't believe anything till I see the action. I'm like, I get it, but I have to hear the words first before I will believe the action.
Yeah, and they both have to work together.
They do. They do.
You can't have one without the other.
Correct.
It's like Roan used to say, and I used to laugh when he would say this, but it was so true. You know, what do you do? What do you get when you motivate an idiot?
Motivated idiots.
Correct.
Yeah.
What do most people do? They spend their entire life aimlessly careening from wall to wall.
Yeah.
And brag about their activity at the end of the day. I'm so tired. I've done so much work. Doing what?
Right. Yeah.
Because you didn't think about it. You didn't commit to it. You didn't make a plan.
Yeah.
And made smart actions.
Yes.
You just moved.
Yes.
And while the exercise is always good, health-wise, the rest of it doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's activity over action.
Correct.
I mean,
any activity over action.
Well, yeah. And to me, it's like you have to have a defined path. It doesn't have to be like crystal clearly defined, but you have to know the direction you're going and take purposeful steps towards that. Most people just come into a situation, a job, a profession, and just start doing activity and not taking intention. Because I look at there's activity and there's intentional action. Activity is just doing things. I did these 6 things today. It was a busy day. I'm tired. Cool. What moved the needle? Intentional action moves the needle. Did you have to do all 6 of those things? Or were those just space fillers to make you feel like you did something? But the 6 things you should have done are still sitting there on your to-do list.
And that goes back to holding yourself accountable.
Correct. That's it. And I get there are some people that need to feel the momentum of getting things done. So they may start with little activities to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. If they have a plan to do that.
You got to have a plan to do it. Exactly. Right. Like that's the thing. And it's most people don't think about that. To me, it's like I always think to myself, what is going to move the needle today? And I have my 3 things I know every day I have to get done. These are 3 things that I know will move the needle. And the rest of it is just noise. If I get it done, great. If I don't, it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I totally get it. Every morning I write down 3 things. These are 3 things I have to get done that will absolutely move a needle in my business in the right direction. If I accomplish nothing else that day, I get those 3 things and I'm satisfied. The rest of it,
that's smart. That's smart. That's a smart game plan.
Do it. You have to do it.
I do mine differently, but that's I actually like that better. I like that better because that's a more honest.
Yeah,
that's a really purely honest.
It is
question to yourself every morning.
Yes, what will move the needle?
Do you think we have trouble prioritizing in the modern society?
Yes.
Why do we avoid that?
Why do we avoid prioritizing?
Yeah, our life. The concept of prioritizing our activities, our thoughts, our work.
We don't know what's most important.
Bingo.
That's what it comes down.
And what does that say?
A lot of things. It says a lot of things. It says the lack of self-awareness, the lack of self-reflection, the lack of just situational awareness. There's a lack of a lot of things. Just the lack of effort. Because to me, prioritizing you have to do it. It's something you have to intentionally do. Right. You have to look at all the things you need to do and in your head say, what is most important? Is it I gave someone a deadline and I'm up against it? That's the most important. This is the most critical task that will impact someone.
Not the task you enjoy the most.
No, it should never. And it may be that, but it shouldn't be. That should not be the mechanism to figure it out. I enjoy this the most. Like I love talking to people. If I could spend every day in my legal profession talking to people 10 hours a day and just having meetings and strategizing and then someone else do all the work, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Not at that point yet. There's other things that need done. And I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, you will be at some point though.
Yeah.
Yeah. My real estate practice is at a point right now where it's not where I'd like it to be, but my dream is to have an assistant that engages in all of my background work. I go out, I help them find the property, I help list the property, but all the background stuff, the contracts, the addendums, all the communication with the
boring
vendors. Yeah. And I can see a point in time where I'll have that. And I've got elements of that now.
Yeah.
But that's, because what I enjoy the most, I don't enjoy that stuff the most.
No, I mean,
You know,
you got to look, when you're growing a business, there are things you're going to have to do that just don't
absolutely
make sense until you can offload them. And that's what the spot I'm in right now, where I'm trying to figure out what I can delegate and let go of without me like caring, but also there's still stuff that I have to do. There's still things that come back to me. So it's a fine balance. And it's hard because if I could just spend time all day doing the stuff I love, I'd be sitting in a conference room all day talking to people, having coffee, meeting, chatting, strategizing, creating ideas. That's what I love. But unfortunately, I have to do the legal work. I have to run the firm. I have to do marketing. I have to do business development. It's all part of my role now.
Yeah, it's just in a very small remedial way. When I started this radio gig and I was there by myself, and I knew I had these 5 or 6 different tasks that I had to do every time I walked through that door. Record the weather and the news and take tower readings, and all this stuff is just annoying.
Yeah.
The thing I like to do is to create my show for those 4 hours, lay it out, the comedy bits. That's the exciting part to me. The rest of it, it's like, so what do? I make sure I do all the stuff first. Get it all done. And after you develop the discipline stuff, you end up really, in some way, you look forward to getting the accomplishment of each of those things done. And it doesn't matter, but you have to be willing to understand the priority. And marry the priority. You know?
No, and that's why discipline is so critical in anything you do. And it is such a freeing. People think discipline is restriction. To me, discipline it truly frees you.
That gets back to that mental freedom, which is more valuable than the time freedom of entrepreneurship. It's the freedom mentally that I have.
And
it might include more work. Traditional work.
Yes, and that's okay. But at least I'm free to think and operate how I want, and to have the mental space to generate ideas, to come up with new things.
And that's the exciting part of entrepreneurship. That's the juice.
That is the juice.
But it's not always visible to those who aren't doing it.
And it's hard to articulate.
Because they're worried about, all they see is the freedom of time.
You
see what I mean? Like, it's a time thing. Oh, you can go play golf, or you can go on a vacation, or you don't have to answer to anybody. And
meanwhile, I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm usually there on Saturdays and Sundays, so it's pretty much 7 days a week.
Of course.
And it's like there is no freedom, like time freedom. It's, do I have to be there? No. Do I want to be there because I have things to do?
The mental freedom.
Yeah, but it's like I can sit there and just go.
Correct.
Watch YouTube in my office if I wanted to.
Correct.
Like, no one's holding a gun to my head saying you better do this. My own discipline is.
Yeah, it's really it is. All right, let me right turn a little bit. So lay a couple scenarios out for you. And again, I want to talk more on a societal basis. I don't think I ever shared this story with you, but about 20 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, once in a while, I'd find myself driving through the South Side on Friday and Saturday nights. Because I just had to be down there for other reasons, but I made an observation. Let's just say it's 2010-ish, 15 years ago, 11, 12. The women, girls on the streets, in and out of the bars, dressed to the nines. The guys with them, whether it's one-on-one or in groups, all dressed, and I mean it, like they rolled out of their bed at the frat house. Baggy jeans, flannel shirts hanging open, t-shirts, unkempt hair, the whole thing. And it seemed to be really consistent from week to week. It's the same thing. And I wondered, like, number one, what happened? Number two, after Natalie and I got together, this further perpetuated because she was explaining to me about how far we've gone in appearance for people that board airplanes. Taking an airplane, there used to be a decorum that went with that. How you dressed. I mean, it was almost dictated by the airlines, I believe, back in the day. But her observation is that the things people are wearing on the plane contribute to the changed attitudes and behavior on the plane. That's her opinion, and I'm kind of agreeable with her on that. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, clothes can change your mental framework when you think about it, right? Like, think about Think about when you're dressed in a suit,
Mm-hmm.
how you think and operate. If I get on a plane in a suit, I'm more professional. I think differently. Now, I will never go on a plane in sweatpants. I'm usually like in jeans,
Of course,
and a dress shirt or something. But yeah, I think clothes make the person, and it can really change your mentality. Like I know myself, if I'm dressed in like gym shorts and a t-shirt, I'm not as serious. I'm not thinking as seriously, right? But if if I'm dressed in business casual clothes or a suit, like I'm thinking differently. Even when I'm working at night, like at home, I will sometimes keep my work clothes on just to keep myself in that professional frame of mind. Because the moment I take them off, it's like I'm not in the same frame of mind. So I've taken my uniform off, and to me, like I'm not ready to take it off yet.
What do you think? My observation was it only specific uniquely to Pittsburgh, or do you think
It's everywhere?
Think something happened that, like, just say, like, why would the guys be dressed so casual with the women still dressed up
Back then
to go out?
Well, I think that's a period piece you're talking about right now. Like think about like the 2000s, 2010s. That's like when the guys didn't give a shit. It was like the Abercrombie and Fitch days. It was just kind of like they're gonna dress down like it was a frat guy look. Like I think
Okay.
style. I think no, but I think
I'm older than you, so I must have missed.
No, what I'm saying, I think style changes over time. Like I remember there was a point in time, like I was in law school in 2003, right? So from 2000 to 2003, I would spend nights in the South Side, and it was like we dressed a certain way then, right? Kids in college dressed a little bit differently, and as we've gotten older, you just watch people how it's different demographics dress a certain way. Like I know when I was young, we used to always dress. There was a striped shirt era. Okay. Like I mean, they actually made a meme video about this way back then. Like it was called My Striped Shirt. It was like a guy saying he was going out with all his guy friends. They all wore striped button-up shirts. And I look back at pictures, I'm like, we all wore striped button-up shirts. We used to joke about, like, we have pictures of us from like the early 2004, 2005, right when I graduated law school. Me and my guy friends going out, and we'd all have like buttoned-up straight shirts on, like a bunch of idiots. But that was the style, and you just kind of fell into it. I don't know who defined it, but that's just what it was. And I think there was a time where then guys, like, it was cool to not care about the looking that way. So it was like, we're just gonna dress down. It ebbs and flows.
Really? You don't think it just progressively gets more and more casual and outlandish?
No, I think now
look at Walmart. You can walk through Walmart or Target.
But you're talking about now different segments of. Like I could walk around Target and people are dressed completely differently than they are in Walmart.
Generally, yes.
I walk around the Ross Park Mall, different dress there. So it depends on where you are.
Correct.
It depends on your age. I think there's a lot of factors. I think I can't make a blanket statement saying that people have gotten more and more casual. I've gotten more formal over time, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe our views are just different. Viewpoints are just different there. I think society's gotten much lazier in terms of like language, but definitely in terms of clothing. I mean, it seems like anything goes now. Anything goes.
That's where I disagree, because I think there was probably a lot more scandalous dress 10 years ago than there is now.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. At least my viewpoint, my experience. I'm 10 years younger than you, so I have a different viewpoint. So I was always there was definitely a gap between our viewpoints, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I look at it like totally different. Where when I was in college, we dressed a certain way, and then when Gabe was in college, they dressed a certain way, and college kids now dress a certain way. I don't think it's gotten sloppier. I think it's just a generational thing. Everybody, because now it's like you see, the guys have all like the tight fitting athletic athleisure clothes is kind of the thing now, which are expensive clothes like Lululemon. Like a sweatsuit is going to be $200. That's not, to me, that's not sloppy and casual. Like those are like I wear. I mean, this polo shirt and these pants I have on are both Lululemon pants, or both Lululemon. So I don't think, is it sloppy? No.
And again, let's take the word sloppy out of it. It's society, to me, over the past 30 years or so, has really taken a turn toward casual wear. I mean, you see guys wearing tennis shoes with suits now all the time.
Okay, but what what would be the alternative?
Nothing. Status quo. Having some social norms of this is
But what
formal.
who
This is semi-formal. This is.
So let me ask.
No one should define it. It's
But
just
that's
something
what I'm
we
saying. So
all
I think-
kind of.
Well, that's
Who
why I
defined
think,
it when we had it.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think society does define the norms. So now you see fashion people that are in the fashion world wearing sneakers with suits. You know, so you see that. So are they the ones setting the bar because they're on the runway in New York?
I guess
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's a hard statement to make, because I don't think society said, "Fuck it, we're just gonna be casual now." I think fashion has changed. I think the workforce has changed.
Business has yielded to it.
Well, I think
maybe not your profession.
Well, I think there's a lot of professions where, like, if you're working from home, are you going to put on a suit when you work from home? Like, let's be realistic. Like, the majority of the population now probably still works from home. So you go from having 100% of the workforce in the workplace to 0% to now probably 50-50. Those 50% of people, are they going to go out and spend thousands of dollars on suits and business clothes when they don't need to, because they work from home? They're going to wear what they like. And I think, because I watch things on social media, I see fashion, and I think there's a casual aspect to it, but I think I would call it casual chic. And that sounds stupid to say, but I don't see it as, like, I don't see people walking around wearing sloppy clothes. In certain parts of society, of course, that's always going to be the case, but if we're talking about, like, we compare a demographic that wore suits to what they wear now. I just think it's still a chic way of dressing. It just may change the frame of it.
It can be. It can be.
Yeah,
It can be. I think that 10 years difference in our age might be where our views different. Because when I left corporate America in '99, it was starting to just get a tinge of casualness to it. There was a lot of formality in the 70s and the 80s and 90s in American business. There just was.
I mean, when I worked at a big law firm, we didn't have to wear suits. It was business casual.
And that was in the 2000s, right?
That was 2003. I started. Yeah. So it was business casual.
Yeah.
I never had a place where I had to wear a suit to work.
And I probably would guess, if in that same firm, if you'd wound it back 10 years to 93, 94, they were all in suits all day long. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's a different, that's the age gap speaking now, I think.
Is the change, you think, was supposed to be a perk to the employee? Do you think that because you think when business made the turn to do that?
I don't necessarily think it's that. I think potentially there's maybe a level of productivity they got from people. You let them, we let them dress business casual. They'll be more comfortable.
Do you think it worked?
I don't know. I think in some companies it has. Sure.
You think?
Yeah, I'm sure it has. I don't know across the board.
The other way.
What's that?
I would think it would go the other way.
Potentially, but think about it like, so I know when I wear a suit, right? Certain things, I'm very focused, right? I feel like, but there are other things that may take me longer. So it's an uncomfortable thing to wear. Like if I'm sitting at my desk all day typing and drafting something, wearing a suit is not the most beneficial thing for me to wear. If I have meetings, then yes, I feel on. It's like, it's,
right.
It's your uniform. But if I'm sitting in my office and I have, 3 contracts to draft and review, I don't want to have a tie around my neck.
Okay.
Like I want to be free to roll up my sleeves, be comfortable like this. Like I knew today I had just a bunch of stuff to do, didn't have any meetings. I wore this. It was comfortable. This is casual. I was able to focus. I felt good. It was non-restrictive. And now I have a bunch of meetings in the office tomorrow, so I will have a suit on. So I won't operate the same way. It's very situational, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. And I always wonder, the change to become a more casual society, has that affected productivity overall? Does that affect mindset?
I mean, I think to answer your question, yes, it can. I don't think society as a whole, it has done that too. I think because it all boils down to some people operate their best in casual. Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, me. That's what I'm saying. So think about that. So you have someone like a Mark Zuckerberg who never wore a suit, wore a hoodie every day. Like, he's, he built Facebook. That his casual dress did not slow him down. A lot of people do that because if you listen to what he says, he didn't have to make the decision. He wore the same thing every day, so he had one less decision he had to make. And that's where I think that's where I think the casual clothes come into play. It's easier to pick something casual to wear than for me to pick a suit out, right? That I'm going to wear. I've got to think suit, shirt, tie, pocket square, socks, shoes. Those are decisions I have to make sure they all match. If I'm wearing something casual, shirt, pants, shoes.
No, yeah, I get it.
It's
I totally
less
get
decisions.
I totally get it. It's just for the years I've been on this earth to look back and watch the change in societal dress is something. It's something.
Yeah, I understand. You're a grumpy old man.
Well, I mean, I can remember my grandparents coming in from Canada and Alberta, and just knowing how they lived up there, and then they would come to the States, and this is late 90s. They would make the comments, it's amazing what you people wear down here in public.
Yeah,
because it's just the norms are just different, you know.
That's every society when you think about it. Look all over the world. Every society dresses differently. Yeah.
Don't you want to go practice law just for like 1 week over in England and have to wear that funny wig?
No, not at all. Zero chance. No.
Do you have to wear that?
I don't know. I don't know the rules. Like I think in court, because they're barristers, I don't know all the rules. I think there's probably some level of decorum you have to follow there.
A wig?
I don't know. I think in the back in the day you probably had to, but now I don't want to explore that. No, I'm good. I'm good practicing law here, man. The states I'm licensed in, I'm good. Happy with that.
You think ultimately the courts are gonna come off the formality?
No, I don't know. There are certain professions that just have a decorum to them. Like, no, I don't think.
Do you think that would be good or bad if they did?
I don't think it would be good. Because again, there's a level of professionalism to certain things. And to me, being a lawyer, not touting my own profession, but there is a level of professionalism that we hold, right? And that we should hold. And it shows respect to the court, like the judge. You should address a certain way in respect of that tribunal. And that, I don't think that'll ever change. It never should, nor should it change.
So in the 90s, for a period of 12 months, I went and worked. I took a break from paging and cellular. And I went and I worked for USA Waste. They were a company that bought Chambers Development here in Pittsburgh. They were a large concern.
Okay.
And they grew quick, and they eventually merged with Waste Management. That's the backstory.
Okay.
For the year I worked for them, it was a waste company, and I was selling dumpsters.
Okay.
2, 4, 6, 8 yard and long. Long, and could be a pizza shop one day. It could be a big mill. Roll-off boxes the next day. The whole thing, geographical territory. You would think a polo shirt, and I mean, for goodness sake, our office was connected to a landfill, for God's sake. That company had a policy that if you were not in operations, you were in business formal every day. That's the 90s.
Yeah.
So I was selling dumpsters in a suit and tie.
This is where our gap is.
I went and visited clients. I went to the corporate office. From the CEO, Mr. Drury, late John Drury, all the way down. Pristine to the nines. It was a waste company.
Oh, was it a waste company or was it a mafia front?
Well,
I'm kidding.
Chambers was. So when Chambers got exposed and got rotted out, we came in and bought them. Now I don't know, but they were.
But no, I agree. Look, there, and that's obviously explains the gap we have in this discussion, right? That's how you came up. I didn't come up like that.
Yeah,
I came up out of law school in business casual. I mean, I love to wear suits now. I wear more suits now than I did when I was
a corporate lawyer.
Yeah, when I was a corporate lawyer. Speaking of, I got a new suit today, left in my office. Now I'm just thinking of Krista dropped it just popped in my head.
David Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. So I think society has gotten sloppy? No, I think dress has changed. I think professions have changed. I think there are different parts of society that's gotten lazy. I think the clothing has made it easier to be more casual and still appear put together.
Sure.
Sure. Like, again, like you could go and buy I can go buy a Lululemon hoodie and pants, and I look like, it looks nice, even though it's gym clothes, because they make things so much better now.
Right.
It's just it's how you view it, right? I think there are certain professions that are always going to have a level of professionalism to them. And I always say I would rather be the better dressed person in the room than the worst dressed person in the room.
Certainly. There's also something to the way someone wears clothing. It's how you move. It's how fit you are. It's how the clothing fits you. The whole thing is it's a presence.
Yeah,
and that's just as important as what the actual clothing is.
Well, it clothes can say something about you before you open your mouth. Like truly, and I'll give you an example. I did that for Dave. I did that one show for the Allegheny County Bar Association. It was like a fashion show they did for young lawyers, and I wore one of his suits, and I had like a matching tie, pocket square socks. And as I came out, the judges were like attorneys and judges, and they would talk about the outfits they came out. And the one guy said, if I didn't know anything about him as a corporate lawyer, I would hire him over someone else because of the attention to detail. So right there, like, and I said this to people in my office, right there, he looked at how I appeared. I didn't say a word, knew nothing about me, but saw that I took the time to match the tie, the pocket square, the socks, the color tones, tie bar, everything. He's like, that guy pays attention to details. I want him to look at my corporate documents. That's a very detail oriented.
Well, it goes back to that thing. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Correct. Yeah. But that's part of what clothes mean. Some people, okay, they may just be like software coders. You're gonna put them in a suit. I want them in comfortable clothes because they're gonna be hammering away at a computer for 8 to 10 hours a day programming. That's a different discipline, right? Videographers, photographers, it's all different.
Like, I think the real estate profession has changed a lot.
Of course,
I mean, even in 10 years when I started at Hannah, and they were big on back then. I don't know what they do now. They're big on the formality thing. And I had a sports jacket, but I still would wear denim because that was me. I always wore like a Oxford shirt, but I always had jeans and dress shoes on. That was what I felt most comfortable. It didn't rub with their policy. It didn't mesh with their policy. It rubbed. And so that ultimately was part of the reason I left. But the point was, if you look at real estate now, I mean, I would have no problem leaving right now and going with my client and showing properties. Now, I wouldn't do it the first time I meet a client.
Right, sure.
Okay, but once I earn their trust and we have a working relationship, they know this is authentically who I am.
Yeah, I understand.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And I will tell you this. I mean, outside of people I know, like if someone dresses casual, I'm not going to judge them down. But if someone dresses better, I'm going to always give them more credence.
Absolutely. Well,
So
that first impression.
that first impression. So yeah, casual is not going to offend me. But if you dress better than that, you're going to get my business over someone else.
1,000,000%.
Always. Appearance does. I hate to say it, but appearance does matter.
It does matter.
More than people realize.
And yet here we are in a more casual business world.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
But again, I think it allows people to stand out.
Yeah, it does. It does. And smart, casual, well presented casual clothes is a lot different than frumpy.
I agree. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, take the casual word off. It's the fit of the clothing.
1,000,000%.
To me, I look at it's the fit. Like you can be in a t-shirt and jeans and a blazer and look better than someone in a full suit. If they have on a full suit that fit well, you have on a well-tailored t-shirt, blazer, jeans, and a pair of sneakers.
Well, it helps when you take care of yourself. So your physical condition.
It starts with you.
Correct.
Then everything you put on the external is just an extension of you.
Correct.
But if you're not right, nothing else is going to be right.
There you go. There's a lesson for the day.
That's it, man.
Rocco Cozza. All right, partner. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Until next week.
Yes.
See y'all.
Threw me off this week, man.
Until next week.
I can't wait.